Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following all the updates on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I'm Daemon Hatfield, and I'm joined by Max Scoville, host of IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond.
Howdy.
And Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
Welcome back, Damon.
Thank you as well. This week we got to talk about the PlayStation 5 Slim models that were just unveiled this week. These have been rumored for a while, and they're coming very soon, coming next month, launching sometime in November. They are going to be 30% smaller than their launched counterparts. They offer slightly more storage, 1 terabyte. That's up from 825 gigs in the original versions. The Slim with the disk drive, again, there's 2 models. With the disk drive is $500, no price change there. But the digital-only PS5 Slim is going to be $450, which is a price increase of $50. And this doesn't call into account that now neither of them can be stood up vertically outside the box. They can only be set up horizontally outside the box, and now there's going to be a $30 vertical stand that's sold separately. So it's also a little bit of a price increase if you wanted to store your PS5 vertically. And then the other little interesting piece of this is they are going to release an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive sold separately for $80 that can allow you to play discs on your digital-only PS5. And I have a lot of questions about that one. But first of all, Max, what was your reaction to the PlayStation 5 Slim models?
We went into this a bit on Beyond this week, and it is we're not impressed. It's kind of ridiculous. I think this is maybe we had low expectations going into this based on what we'd heard in advance, but I feel like it is an especially it's a bit of sticker shock, you know, and it's what you're getting for what you're paying is it's not great. Like, I feel like a terabyte is probably what the PS5 should have had at launch. Going from 825 to 1 terabyte. Let's see. I did the math on this. It is a 12% or 12.5% price increase for a 30% physically smaller console that has 17.5% more storage, which is, you know, if you got the money flying around and you want to just spend it on that, that's great. And that's, you know, obviously not counting the addition of a vertical stand if you are so inclined to do that. But like going back and looking at every single time that Sony has launched a slim version of a PlayStation, it almost always comes with a price cut. If not for the slim model itself, for the PlayStation as a whole. And this time around, it's the first time when it's actually just gone up all around. Usually it's about 3 to 4 years in, and most of the time it is at least a $100 price drop. And in this case, we are getting, it's $50 more than the digital version was at launch. And I mean, that's how inflation works, but I feel like that's not how hardware should work. And I mean, again, it's also, as far as the slim models go, I think it's about as much of a size decrease as the PS4 one was. That was also about a 30% decrease in size, which is all right. But I'm not wowed by the design of it and the whole detachable disk drive thing. That's utterly just a baffling choice, but it is what it is, and that's it. This
is where we are,
as it were.
These models are going to replace the existing PS5 models once they sell out of stock of the launch models. This is going to be the new, just the PS5. So they're not even calling it the PS5 Slim. It's just the PS5 now. Ryan, we know that from recent leaks that Xbox has sort of a refresh planned coming late next year. We'll do some comparisons in just a little bit, but what was your reaction to the PlayStation 5 Slim?
That we seem to have entered a new era where it used to be, as Max noted, that these console shrinks, these design refreshes, would benefit the customer in that they would, as Max noted, most usually come with a price drop, and also benefit the manufacturer, the first-party hardware maker, because it's cheaper for them to make. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's why they're doing it. There can be secondary objectives achieved with, you know, it's a marketing opportunity, it's this, it's that. But at the end of the day, it's cheaper for the console manufacturer to do it because they've been in production for a while. Technology advances, they're able to maybe shrink the die on the chips and have more, you know, a higher yield on those on the wafers. But now we seem to be in this era for both Sony and Microsoft where only the manufacturer, only the actual first-party company really benefits. Again, not that there aren't any benefits. Max, you know, went over a couple things there, but there's certainly no real appeal for existing owners to buy. Whereas in the past, you know, you might have a good reason to grab one of the slim ones. You know, whether it's your first one is getting old. Maybe the fans are getting loud. The good news is that the PS5 and Series X seem to be built pretty darn tough, and I haven't really heard of any widespread issue at all for either console. So, there's no real technical need to buy one of these new ones. There's certainly no price incentive to do so. I guess if you really, really want to fit your PS5 in your entertainment center now, because speaking personally, and I can't imagine I'm alone here, you can see it in the background of any of my shoots when I'm shooting from home. My PS5 will not fit vertically or horizontally in the cubbies of my entertainment center. This new one, I guess, would. So mine rests literally on top, which, it's a good thing earthquakes never happen in San Francisco, so it's at no risk whatsoever of ever falling off the top of it and plummeting to the floor. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are still millions and millions of new customers to bring into the new generation. And at the end of the day, these refreshes on the design front they're just not for us. There's no reason for us to double dip or to replace what we already have.
A funny thing I saw is I saw some people talking about this in the comments, and the PS5 got a price increase in most parts of the world. Europe specifically, I think it went up by about 50 euro, 50 pounds, something like that. And a bunch of American customers pointed out that it's also pretty much impossible to find one that isn't part of a bundle that costs $50 more anyway. So it's sort of gotten like an unofficial bit of a price bump to begin with. But I guess it's just weird because usually I see these mid-cycle refreshes, redesigns as a chance to kind of attract some newcomers who weren't there at launch, who weren't going to be early adopters, and they weren't going to jump at the chance to buy a $500 console. Like maybe they'll buy a $300 one. But in this case, if anything, it's going to kind of ward them off. And I mean, maybe Sony's sitting pretty enough that they can, they have the install base, they have that many people out there who are willing to buy a PS5 at full price or more, whatever that is. But it's just. Yeah, I guess it feels like a really kind of disappointing move, especially when there's this decades-long track record of something of a pattern we've come to expect from them. And I can't help but wonder how many people this is going to drive towards picking up a Series S, because it's clearly the cheapest option if you want to play Call of Duty. Basically,
I think we'll get to this in a second with Daemon, but at least on the Xbox Series X Slim, the codename Brooklyn, they're taking out the optical drive as well, but at least you are getting an extra terabyte of storage for that same $499. So there is at least, compared to the PS5 Slim, you're getting at least a little bit more there. But yeah, these are not exciting to us, the core gamers, but maybe they aren't intended to be at all, and we're kind of just yelling into the wind here.
Mm-hmm. We can discuss the Xbox codename Brooklyn for a moment here, Ryan. Again, this is all come from leaks. Microsoft hasn't officially announced what their mid-gen slim refresh plans are, but it's supposedly digital only, as you say. It's more of a redesign. It has more of a different shape. It's a cylinder shape instead of this big rectangle cube. And like you said, 2 terabytes of storage for the same $500 price point. So, I mean, at that point, does that start to make, at least from a hardware side, the Xbox, there's a clear advantage there, right? It doesn't have the exclusive library that PS5 has, but it has double the storage.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you already have a Series X, just buy the admittedly still overpriced official memory cards that operate at the same speed as the internal drive. That's certainly cheaper than trading in your console and having to pay the difference on a new one. But yeah, no optical drive. So Microsoft they're making a bigger bet with regard to the future of physical media. Now, as I think we talked about a couple weeks ago on this podcast, this show, I should say, I fully believe that Microsoft will also have an external Blu-ray drive to offer alongside the Brooklyn or the Series S refresh as well. And it just wasn't part of the leaked documents that they had no intention of ever making it before the public's eyes. Whereas Sony, this is obviously, we're seeing their actual marketing plan in effect here. So yeah, they're both still following pretty parallel tracks, although Microsoft does does get certainly a tip of the cap that Sony doesn't for at least upping the storage to 2 terabytes on the Series X Slim.
This external Blu-ray disc drive attachment is the most puzzling piece of all this for me. Not the price. The price is fine. $80 is a good price for a Blu-ray player. But I just don't understand who would ever buy it, because if you have the model with the disc drive, you don't need it. If you bought the digital-only version, presumably you didn't need it in the first place. And then if you do buy it, now you've spent $530. So why not just buy the disc drive in the first place? Am I missing something here? Max, am I missing something? What is the purpose of this?
I feel like it's vestigial technology. Like it's something that when it escaped from R&D. Sony occasionally makes things like this. Like they put out the, look at the PlayStation Portal, which is, again, a product that doesn't seem like it's for anybody. Just at the tail end of the PS4 life cycle, they put out an additional pair of back buttons that you could clip onto your PS4 controller, and it had us all speculating, is the PS5 controller going to have 2 extra buttons? Is this kind of future-proofing them for that? And it didn't. It was just this weird one-off product that I think you get it for like $27. It's like dirt cheap because nobody wants it. I mean, maybe they're hoping a few chumps actually go for buying a $530 version of a product they could get for $500. Maybe it's for people who buy the slim regular one. Maybe there's some people who buy the digital only one and they go, yeah, I'll wait till that thing's on clearance, and then they jump on it and maybe they get a PS5 with an optical drive for what, $430 instead of $500 or whatever.
I don't know. Any chance that they're just sort of trying to lay the groundwork for the next generation, where the standard models won't have a disc drive?
100%.
Just sort of like setting a precedent for that.
I think it's like a frog in boiling water kind of thing.
Yeah.
They really just want to
slowly increase the temperature.
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder if Microsoft's going to do the same thing they did with the external storage, where they farm it out to someone else like Seagate, and they make it someone else's problem to deal with manufacturing the external optical drive, and they just focus on making the console itself.
It could very well be. I mean, they did do their own HD DVD add-on drive for the 360 back in the optical HD format wars that were short-lived. And
you think that'll be backwards compatible with the new Slim? I feel like that's a great solution there. Just really get that thing off.
I just remember at OXM, our review unit broke within 3 months. So I don't know how well those things have held up, but yeah, absolutely, Damon. There's now that both Sony and again, the Microsoft leaks, which could change by the time next year rolls around, but probably not. It does seem like optical is on the way out for the future of at least PlayStation and Xbox consoles.
Sure. Well, in any case, the Slim redesigns for the PS5 will be out next month. Still waiting on an exact release date, but they did say November. Like we were saying, doesn't really affect those of us that already own a PS5. No reason to rush out and buy this unless you really need to save 30% of space in your entertainment center. But I'll be very interested to see what happens with this external Blu-ray disc drive. Still very, very confused by that. From last episode, you guys were talking about Alan Wake 2. You had Thomas Puha from Remedy Games on here talking about just current-gen gaming in general. And so our poll that episode was, we asked the audience, what's your favorite Remedy game ever? And Ryan, Control came in at number 1 with over 32% of the respondents. That was Control. That would be followed by Max Payne, then Alan Wake, then Max Payne 2, then Quantum Break. Down there.
Interesting. Maybe a little recency bias there, since Control is their most recent game, but I still applaud that choice. It's a great game that I think it kind of didn't get enough love when it came out. I was happy that we gave it Game of the Year, that enough IGN staffers played it and thought, yes, this is what I'm voting for. But it does seem like it's almost kind of been a Remedy thing. Alan Wake had a notoriously long tail where it kind of its reputation built up and built up as the years went on. And much shorter amount of time. Control was 2019, but it seems like Control's having that same sort of greater appreciation as time goes on, and Remedy has done a good job supporting it with DLC, with some interesting DLC, and hopefully Alan Wake 2 will get its fitting amount of love at launch rather than have to wait to become a cult classic in 3 years.
All right, we have a poll for you to vote on for next week. We want to know what would make you rebuy a console that you already own. If it had slightly improved specs, if it had a smaller size, if it was a particularly cool redesign. Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live, and we'll share the results with you next episode. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you to both Max and Ryan. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes in our LA and San Francisco studios to make this possible. My name is Damon. We'll be back next week with more PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X news. We'll see you then.